Alright, legends, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart, and we're getting on very swiftly to the end of the Halloween franchise. This episode, we're talking about Halloween Kills from 2021, and I have to say, out of this final trilogy that they've made at this point, and I've got no doubt in my mind, 5 or 6 years from now, the license is going to come up again, and somebody else is going to take another stab, pun intended, at the Halloween franchise. So this is very far from the end of these movies. I think they're going to be cash cows no matter what. Even if a film has got a poor response at the box office and the Halloween films, they're still bigger earners, But this one here for me, again, Halloween Kills, definitely my favourite out of this final trilogy. David Gordon Green directed and co-written with Danny McBride, Scott Teems. It is a sequel to 2018's Halloween, of course, and it's the 12th movie in the franchise. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. James Jude Courtney's there, who reprised their roles as Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Judy Greer, Andy Matichak, and Will Patton also reprised their roles from the previous film. Anthony Michael Hall, Thomas Mann joining the cast in this one. It begins where the previous film ended, so tradition. The original Halloween and Halloween 2 were set essentially in the same night, so we're keeping that up for this movie. It sees Laurie and her family continuing to fend off Michael with the help of the Haddonfield community in this movie. There is a certain section in this movie where I got strangely emotional towards a character in there that I wasn't expecting. Not even a character that's anything to really do with Laurie or her family or Michael. He's just a random patient that escaped along with Michael in the previous movie, but we all get there as we go through this little review on it. Jason Blum served as producer on the film through his Blumhouse production banner, alongside Malik Akkad. That name is no stranger to the franchise. Where are we at? Let's just get into the plot of this movie, and we'll go back to some of the other details at the end. So, we start on October 31st, back in 1978, and Deputy Frank Hawkins, he accidentally shoots his partner dead while trying to save him from Michael Myers. So, good wee start to the movie. We flash back to that original setting, and he also prevents Dr. Loomis from executing Michael. Loomis put a gun to his head, was ready to take him out, and Frank Hawkins, already on his own guilt trip for killing his own partner, doesn't want to see any more bloodshed, so he steps in and actually saves Michael from a bullet to the head. 40 years later, on October 31st, 2018, he has been stabbed and left for dead by Dr. Sartain. Hawkins is found by Cameron Elam, and he calls an ambulance. Of course, Hawkins now regrets allowing Michael to live and vows to kill him this time. While this is happening, Tommy Doyle, they're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Michael's imprisonment, having a big party at a local bar, along with fellow survivors Marion Chambers, Lindsay Wallace, and Lonnie Elam, having each survived an encounter with Michael back in 1978. So again, all the movies from the original Halloween movie just don't count at all when it comes to this trilogy here. Halloween 2018 was a direct sequel to Halloween back in the 70s. So, where are we at? Firefighters responding the Laurie Strode's burning house encounter Michael in there. Of course, at the end of the last movie, they trapped him in the basement, set fire to the house, but he's taking shelter in there. And of course, the firemen come in looking for any survivors or anybody that's trapped in the burning building. And of course, they find Michael, who just takes onto them, slaughters them with their own rescue equipment, essentially. Laurie seen them. She's been taken to the hospital, but on her way there, she seen the fire engines heading for her house. And she was crying, no, don't stop. Just let it burn, more or less. So, yes, and again, traditionally, Halloween 2, big part of it was set in the hospital. We get that again in this one. So she's been taken with her daughter Karen and her granddaughter Alison to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, where she undergoes surgery for injuries in the previous movie. Michael attacks Laurie's neighbours after he gets done with the firemen and begins his way back to Haddonfield. So Tommy, Marion, Lindsay and Lonnie at the bar, they learn of Michael's killing spree through an emergency alert, and Tommy forms a mob of vengeful residents to hunt down and kill Michael. Karen is informed that Michael is still alive and withholds that information from Laurie in the hospital to allow her to recover, while her daughter Alison reconciles with Cameron, her ex-boyfriend, and joins Tommy's mob to avenge her own father's death. So, yeah, I'm just really skipping across a lot of the details in this movie. Like, it's just going to hit some of the major points here, but excellent movie. So, while warning the Haddonfield community to stay inside their houses, Marion and bar patrons Vanessa and Marcus, they're killed by Michael. Lindsay escapes and is found alive by Tommy, Lonnie, Allison and Cameron, of course. The group map out Michael's path and his victim's location. They work out that he's heading towards his childhood home. So Tommy takes Lindsay to the hospital, reunites with her former Haddonfield sheriff, Lee Brackett, whose daughter Annie was killed in 1978, and informs Laurie about Michael's survival back across town. Michael, he's still on his killing spree. And I think in this one, I think the kill count's pretty high in this one. I didn't actually take a lot of time to actually count them up in this one, but I think it's definitely higher than the prior movie and probably one of the highest in total for the series. I might be wrong on that there, but if I'm not right, it's close. There's not much in it. Michael murders the current owners of his home as Laurie is preparing to leave the hospital. So the guy that I was talking about at the start of this episode, Lance Tavalli, I want to say, I hope I'm pronouncing that surname properly. He's a fugitive convict from Smith's Grove Hospital, and he escaped along with Michael when the bus crashed in the prior movie. He arrives at the hospital and he's lost. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he comes there essentially looking for help in this movie, and he's mistaken for Michael Myers. Tommy's mob that he's put together, they start to pursue him through the hospital before Karen realises that he's not Michael. She tries to help him, get him to safety, but she's trying to calm the mob down, trying to say, look, it's not Michael, it's not him, leave him be, more or less. But they're like, evil days tonight. The whole chanting thing is going on. He gets trapped at one point in a hallway. He's locked in there for his own safety, so there's this long hallway at the top floor of the hospital, and he is in this corridor, and there's glass double doors at either side of it. They're locked down, the mob can't get in, but they're beaten and trying to break their way through the doors to get to him, and he's panicking. And the I wonder, is there a listing for the guy's name here? No, I'm not actually. Like, there's a list of actors' names here, of course, but the characters they play aren't listed in the notes that I'm looking at the moment. So, the actor that played this guy in the movie does a fantastic job of just being terrified beyond belief about what these guys are trying to do to him, and he breaks out a window and jumps to his death, basically. Laurie urges Karen to work with Tommy and Brackett to hunt Michael down. Again, that guy's performance was great, and it's something that I wasn't expecting in this movie. But yeah, the terror in his eyes in those final moments is just like, I can't. These guys are going to kill me, so I'm going to take myself out before they get me. It's just that level of desperation, and his performance bringing it to life was absolutely perfect. So, right, let's get back to it. Laurie urges Karen, her daughter, to work with Tommy and Brackett to hunt down Michael. We cut over to Lonnie entering Michael's home alone. He's killed by him. Alison and Cameron rush inside to find his corpse before being attacked by Michael, who murders Cameron. As Michael prepares to kill Alison, Karen appears in the hallway at the door of the house, stabs in the back with a pitchfork, and steals his mask and taunts him to follow her. So she saves her daughter, gets out of there. Michael follows her, and she leads Michael into the mob that Tommy has created to hunt him down, who seemingly kill Michael. They get into him, beating him to the ground and give him the hammering of his life. And the thing that jumped out to me in this one here was Michael seems completely powerless. It's like it's a given whenever you're watching these movies. He's got the iconic mask, and when she takes the mask from him, she gets the upper hand of him because he needs that mask to be the killer that he is, essentially. So he gets the mask back on him. He gets the beating. They think they have him killed, but of course, nobody bothers to check him properly. When the mob starts to disperse, Michael awakens and massacres everybody that's standing there, including Tommy and Brackett. And it's a great ending to this movie, and it almost, in a way, for me, watching this, like everybody's watching the movie, no matter what, whether it be horror, whatever it may be. Everybody takes their own thing from whatever movies they be watching. And for me, this kind of set Michael up as having that kind of weird supernatural power and set up at the end of this movie, which I think would have been great to delve into a little bit more in upcoming movies. I thought they were going to, at the end of this here, after having taken such a beating and getting up and taking everybody out without even breaking a sweat really at the end of it, I was just kind of reminded of Friday the 13th, whenever they brought the supernatural element really into the character of what's his face, I'm blanking on him, Jason Voorhees. So that's what I was hoping was going to happen in the next movie. Of course, we're only going to get a trilogy, but it would have been nice to explore that option with Michael. And you could make the argument there is sort of a supernatural element to Michael Myers as well, but nothing that's really been put into concrete in my mind, having watched these again. He's just a nutcase. So back at the Myers house, Karen's in there and she sees a vision of a young Michael in Judith Myers' old bedroom and goes up the stairs to investigate. And at that point, Michael appears, stabs Karen to death, The last we see of Laurie in the movie, she's staring out her hospital room while her daughter's been slaughtered. We're cutting back and forth between that. And, at the end of the movie, Michael's standing in the bedroom and he's staring out the window. But there was something that was said within the movie about Michael, whenever he was a child, that all he did was stand in that window looking out. But the question was asked, was he actually looking out the window or was he looking at his own reflection in the window? And we get that at the end of this movie with the grown-up Michael again standing at this window and he's looking out. You see it from his point of view essentially, and then the camera kind of readjusts itself, takes that background, fades it slightly, and then you see that he's actually looking at his own reflection in the window, and that's where we cut to the end of the film. Absolutely fantastic. I had a great time with this movie. I've said before, if you've been following this podcast, that the Halloween movies, Halloween franchise was never really one that really appealed to me. And in all honesty, the vast majority of these movies, having watched them for this podcast, have been a bit of a chore to get through most of them. But glad that I've done them at this point, and I've actually jumped ahead at this point. I've actually watched Halloween Ends, so we'll be doing that next Monday. All been well, of course, this episode's late as usual. Absolute disgrace. You'd think if I took the time to set up a podcast, it would actually be consistent with it. So let me see, what else have we got here as far as the details of the movie goes. It had a budget of 20 million, and at the box office it made 133.4 million. So yeah, cash cows once again. They are what they are. Let me see. Before the release of the film, McBride confirmed that he and Green were originally intended to pitch 2 films that would be shot back to back, and then decided against it, waiting to see their reaction to the first film. Following the critical commercial success of the 2018 film, development on the sequel promptly began in October 2018. By February 2019, Teens was hired to co-write the script. The film's title was officially announced in July 2019, along with its sequel. Principal photography began in 2019 in Wilmington, North Carolina, and concluded in November. So the following year, due to what happened in 2021, we all know what it is. I'm not going to name it by name, because it's one of these things right now where these podcasts would be grand heading out in SoundCloud and that sort of thing, but they do go to YouTube as well. So there are certain terms that I can't say properly, but we all know what happened in 2021 and the situation that the whole planet found itself in. Halloween Kills had its world premiere at the 78th Venice International Film Festival on September 8th, 2021, and was theatrically released in the United States on October 15th, 2021. It also streamed simultaneously on paid tiers of Peacock for 60 days. And that's something that I've enjoyed since 2021, is getting the opportunity to get that home premiere as well. I love nothing more than going to a cinema and watching a movie on the big screen, but sometimes there's just something nice about chilling out on your own couch and watching a movie, and it's been nice to actually get the opportunity to do that. I have to say, I like having that option. The film was a box office success, again grossing over 133 million worldwide against a budget of 20 million, and received mixed reviews from critics. The sequel, Halloween Ends, was released on October 14th, 2022. So, yeah, I, again, had a great time with this movie. And, yeah, I'm not even going to touch on Halloween Ends at this point. But it is what it is. But as for me, the only thing I'm going to say is this: Halloween Kills was definitely my favourite out of this last trilogy that they made. A lot of good points in this. And yeah, if I say any more, I'm just going to start destroying what I'm going to be saying in the next Halloween review on the channel next Friday. So come back, tune in for that there if you're into the movies, horror movies and that. And we're also, of course, if you're following the channel, this happens to be your first time listening to the podcast, we're doing episode reviews of both Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off Angel at the moment. So they could be hit and miss, I'm pretty sure, at this point for a lot of people. But the original concept of this podcast was going to be just like a Buffy and Angel sort of podcast on its own. But of course, if you're going to do those sorts of reviews, you might as well do everything horror related. So it is what it is at this point. If you don't fancy those episode reviews in the moment they're coming out, all been well, the upload schedule for this show should be Buffy on a Monday, Angel on the Wednesday, and horror movies on a Friday. So if it's just the horror movies you're into, please come back and the Friday releases. But I would appreciate it if you did come back for everything else. It is what it is. So if you want to get in contact with the show, Gmail, Hellmouth Hotline at gmail.com. Please share on the show, written review, it, all that good social media stuff. I'll love you forever. So until the next episode, whatever you're doing, I hope you're doing it safe, and I'll talk to you all then. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.